Hey everyone, Shane McMurray from the Wedding Report. Thanks for joining for this podcast series on venues, caterers, bar service, and rental companies. Today I'm with Darci. Darci, thanks for being on the show. Why don't you introduce yourself, tell me about your business, where you guys are located, and give me your website address and stuff, okay?
Yeah. Well, thanks, Shane. Thanks for having me. My name is Darci Kendall. I'm the founder and creative director of Hodde Beverage Co. We are a full-scale beverage catering company located in Los Angeles. So that means we focus on just regular beverage catering for weddings, for corporate, but we also have an Airstream mobile bar. So we do mobile tours and go up and down the coast of California serving delicious drinks.
Nice. That sounds like fun,
It
especially going
is.
up and down the coast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how'd you guys get started? Tell me the story.
Um, Quite honestly, we got started because at the point in my career, this is around 2014, I was doing some consulting, just freelance. I don't fit very well in offices, which is something I realized about myself in my 30s. So I was just freelance consulting and then had picked up a bar job just for that, extra money. I call bartending the golden handcuffs. You can never quite leave it. So I was kind of aging out of the bar and didn't really want to continue on with my software consulting that I was doing. I really enjoyed events. It was an area that I'd worked in previously in my career. So one day during kind of like the food truck revolution, I was just thinking about like, why can't this also be a bar? Why can
Yeah.
somebody not drive up and serve me a lovely beverage? So we actually started this whole thing with the idea of the Airstream, but the Airstream itself didn't come to fruition until about 2018. So it took us years to kind of save up and be able to do that. So
Yeah.
we started out in 2014 primarily as doing hospitality staffing. And then that kind of morphed into beverage catering and then ultimately the Airstream. But it was
Yeah.
just my dream to have somebody drive up and deliver me a drink.
Why not? I mean, I get it. I never really thought about that. Like, you always had the food trucks
Mhm.
and then of course with food trucks, you always drinking something, right? So
Right,
why not just have a bar right next to it that you could just, serve a
right,
delicious drink? Yeah,
right.
absolutely. Cool. That's great. And you guys, you've been doing this since 2014, consistently. And then
Yep.
2018, you guys did the Airstream thing. So you're more mobile at that point.
Yep. We were able to get out in 2018 with kind of a soft launch. It was right around June. 2019, we focused solely on weddings. One, just because weddings come with beautiful photography,
Yes.
and we needed to kind of build up that stock. And two, because we didn't want to take it out on the road yet. We wanted to get our sea legs. So we were able to do it in 2019 in a bunch of weddings, and then obviously we know what happened in roughly January to March of 2020.
Yeah.
But we're back. I think all events are back. We have a ton of wedding requests, different things, mobile tours coming up. So
Nice.
yeah, we're back in business and finally feeling whatever normal is these days,
As
right?
normal as it gets
So
right now, I
as
guess.
normal as it
Yeah.
gets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so as you know, I mean, alcohol is one of those things that's very highly regulated. And, one of the issues with dealing with serving alcohol, especially in a public space, probably has to do with a lot of regulations and laws and things like that. So let's talk a little bit about how that impacts you and what's going on and some stuff there.
Yeah. So, I mean, alcohol regulations are kind of what trip up a lot of beverage caterers. And I will say this, a lot of beverage caterers are kind of lumped in with other catering. There are a couple sites out there, whether it's the Knot or Wedding Wire, we're starting to get our own vertical. And it's because we have our own conversations. People are starting to separate these two things out.
Mhm.
Um, at least in California, maybe different across the United States, liquor licenses are reserved for brick and mortar locations, which is why so many catering companies have the opportunity to be able to have that liquor license and pair that with their service. But what I like is we're a specialty company. We're focusing on one thing. I'm not focusing on your salad. I'm not focusing on your entree. I'm focusing solely on your drinks. And as much so, if not more, than a regular caterer. Now, we've had some backroom conversations with caterers who say to us, food is more important. And we're back there going, no, booze is more important, right? We each have a place in there, but
Yeah.
we most caterers, beverage caterers, don't have the opportunity to get a liquor license. And if you did, you'd have to run some sort of a restaurant or some sort of a bar to have it attached to that. So there are plenty of us out there that are doing dry hire service, which essentially means we will do everything for the catering except for the purchase or sale of alcohol. Now, personally, I think that's an awesome deal. Why? I'm not upselling you on booze, right? Am I losing some profit there? Yeah, but liquor licenses in California, if I even got one, are over $100,000. So for me, I cut myself out of that. I make my money in other places. But for the client, what I like about it is we predict consumption. You purchase the alcohol through one of our retail partners, which we have plenty of. Some people have their own inns at places and want to purchase it themselves. We can help with that. We assist throughout the whole process. But then in the end, the client gets to keep what's left over, which a lot of my couples end up using it for a brunch the next day, or they stock their home bar, or they've got another reception coming up that they save it for. So they are getting retail prices. We're not gouging them on that. And we manage the whole process for them. This also pertains to the Airstream bar, because in and of itself, that can't be regulated. It can't have a liquor license. It's on wheels. They don't really know what to do with us. And the mobile community really isn't like pushing to get that, because right now it's the wild west and most of us are just considered rentals, right? We have really strong retail ties. They're obviously in LA. I've worked in the bar scene. We have several bars that we work with. We also have several retail partners. So that's what makes us able to go and do this. But if I didn't have that, it would be a harder sell ultimately as part of that, the sales process. Being like, oh, I'm not going to estimate this for you. I'm not going to do anything for you. You have to go find the booze yourself. So we still try and manage everything around it. But it is a workaround. Would I ultimately love to have a liquor license and make the sale on that alcohol? I would. Alcohol is a great thing to sell. And we're working towards that.
It's a good markup. Yeah, you can get a good markup on it. Yeah,
exactly.
So the way around, so essentially what you're saying is the regulation in California is, and in most cities there probably, is that you need a brick and mortar business to serve alcohol to get your liquor license. You can't do it in a food truck. You can't do it in a I'm just driving around selling alcohol kind of thing, right? Can't push a cart around and go, hey, beer for sale, right? Just not something you can do. But the way you get around that is you provide a mobile bar, right? But they buy the alcohol themselves, right? You guys coordinate that, tell them what they need, set everything up, and that's how that works. Do you guys run into any issues with venues where you are that say, oh, wait, we have alcohol, we because they might sell it themselves, right? Because that's how they also make money, by selling.
Right.
Do you guys run into any issues there, or what's happening with that?
Yeah, typically, because we are on the lovely coast of California, and there are so many vineyards out here, that's typically where we run into that situation. I mean, otherwise we may be taking the Airstream into the parking lot of a hotel per se, and they have the liquor license. So the sale has to go through them. So it does keep us flexible. But most of the time, if someone has a liquor license, it's normally at a vineyard, and all they require is that you purchase the wine through them. So we have run into that before. So it does keep us a little bit flexible in terms of the places that we can go. But most wedding venues out here truly are a rental. They are zoned for that, which is great. And when you are zoned as an event space, the awesome thing is in California is that we have some exceptions to needing a liquor license, meaning I can go in, I can serve these beverages. I can't sell the alcohol, but I don't have to have a liquor license to go in there and do that, because it's one, a private event with a guest list. Two, there is going to be some level of security entering this, meaning the guest list or closed doors or whatever. And then three, there's no exchange of money at the bar, right? This is a hosted event. So if you meet those exceptions, you don't have to have a liquor license for that event. So that's great for us. We're flexible. We have so many beautiful venues out here. We're really lucky to have that. And we really have a 365-day season,
Yeah, for sure.
It's all year here. If you're getting married in February, it's going to be just as beautiful as if you're getting married in October.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
Yeah, it's really nice on the coast for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great way to get around that. And I think that's, I mean, that's awesome that you guys have also the opportunity to work with other places to be
Yeah.
the bar service company for them while serving their alcohol or whatever, right? Like
Yep.
that's just a win-win for both, for sure.
Right. Yeah. And we do different types of beverages. Like a lot of times you can go in and see a catering package and it's very standard where they're doing
Yeah.
highballs like vodka soda, Jack and Coke. We're
Yeah.
doing really truly specialty cocktails. A lot of times we are pairing it to the menu, or it's something unique like they went out on a date and these are the two drinks they had on their
Yeah.
first date.
Yeah.
Things like that. We kind of go above and beyond,
Yeah,
right?
I think that's more popular today anyways. I mean,
Yeah.
people, I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on who you are. Like if you really like different types of drinks and things like that, then you want a specialty drink. You want something that's, if you're not a real big drinker and it's not a big deal, but your guests like to drink, you just go, okay, get whatever, because
Yeah.
you're not thinking about it. You're like, yeah, just get them some Jack and Coke and some beer and we're good, right?
Yeah.
So,
I would say the average couple and even the average consumer is way more well versed in cocktail culture than they were even 5 or 10 years ago.
I would
So
agree
you're
with you.
seeing a lot more of that and them really focusing on that as part of the wedding instead of it being an afterthought.
Yeah. Do you think that just more socialization, social media has kind of made that more people more educated around that part of the world?
Yeah, I would definitely say that. And, this kind of craft cocktail culture that started like 5, 7 years ago. It feels
Yeah.
reminiscent of the kind of martini swing that happened in the
Yeah.
90s, where
Yeah.
like Carrie Bradshaw made all martinis cool. And then all of a sudden we had martini bars.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's just exposure to that. I also think the pandemic pushed people to drink at home. And I don't think we've really had that push since like the 1960s. So the
Probably.
home bar kind of evaporated. And now it's really come back where people are trying to make sophisticated cocktails at home and just educate themselves. And then obviously the more they know, the more they want to include that into their wedding. So
Yeah.
as much as people understand food, we have to eat every day. So catering to them is a very easy transition. Now they know more about the bar and they're really bringing that level of knowledge and specialty into their wedding.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I've noticed there's a lot more microbreweries. There's a lot
Yep.
more brewing at home,
Yep.
even making wine at home. So yeah, the
Yep.
whole culture's kind of shifted a little bit towards that sort of thing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about leads and what you guys are doing for leads and what's working for you, what's not working for you.
Yeah. I will admit this, and everyone out there might cringe, but I have never done a single bit of actual advertising.
Good for
Like
you.
even a Facebook ad, even this, even that. We work a lot on reputation out here, which is great. Our motto is if you do a great job at one event, it gets you the next event. And it usually does because I have at a wedding 200, potential leads there.
Yeah.
But in terms of leads and how I get them, obviously, website is first and foremost, making sure that our SEO is on point. And there's my little kitten trying to do things back here. Obviously, making sure that our SEO is on point. So organically, we have the opportunity to be able to bring eyeballs to us. Obviously, beyond that, we are on all the major sites like The Knot and Wedding Wire and The Vendry, all these different marketplaces that open us up to brides. Really, the name of the game on there is beautiful, beautiful pictures and obviously great copy. We did at a point actually pay to be a preferred vendor. And I will say truly that we definitely had more leads. I'm not saying they ended up being more sales. We had more leads,
Yeah.
right? So we stopped doing that after a while. We were focusing on different areas of the business. Obviously, we completely stopped during the pandemic,
Yeah.
but we're still on there and we do get leads through those things. However, I will say this. Normally, when we get leads through the different marketplaces, what I'm working with is specifically just a bride. And that's all great and good. And I love working with brides. Excuse me. Sorry. But a lot of times, this is the first large event that they have planned. So what's been more effective for us has been to really create relationships with either event planners or with venues. And that's one of the things that you may want to talk about, is kind of being an approved vendor, because then I'm not just working with a single person. I'm working with someone who gets maybe 20 requests a year.
Yeah.
They know me, they like my service. And for me, that's an easier transaction. I'm working with another professional who knows how things work. There's less guidance that's needed, less hand holding. So that's really where we focus a lot of things, is creating relationships with those people and creating relationships with venues where we can be an approved vendor. Yeah. So that is typically how we're working on leads right now. And I do have some ideas for advertising in 2023, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what have you done to building relationships with people is sometimes difficult, especially if you don't have an in. So, I mean, is there any key things that you think you guys did? I mean, I know you work in the bar industry and you have already some relationships that you built. So you probably had some ins already, but in spaces where you guys didn't have ins, how difficult was that? What did you what did you have to do to develop and build those relationships?
So I will say this, I am a yes person. I think my team hates me because of that. I'm always like, oh, you want us to do that? Yes. You want us to do that? Absolutely. I normally put hurdles in front of myself to just see if I can get something done, Yeah. But I think that customer service and going above and beyond, I think we all know in events that, of course, things can go wrong. Things often go wrong.
Yeah.
Right? That's the curse of events.
That's just true.
I think that it's your response to those situations that can kind of solidify relationships. So even if it was something they forgot to add something on and I didn't tack it onto their bill, I kind of took that hit with my profit, whatever it may be, or we ran out of tequila at an event and they absolutely have to have it. And I know that there's an alcohol delivery app and I had it delivered here in 20 minutes, whatever it may be, the customer service response to stressful situations, I think, is what solidifies relationships for us. And I think a lot of times people think like, oh, and maybe it's because I'm the boss and I'm on site, so I get to make those decisions. But maybe it's a catering company that's like, no, we can't do that. Or, you're going to have to pay for that, or whatever it may be. I just kind of go above and beyond sometimes. And that is normally what solidifies it. I mean, think back to an event where you were in the trenches with somebody and everything went like just crazy wrong. It was a cluster. And at the end of it, it's like you've gone through war together and you're kind of like bonded. So they know that if I'm going to do that in one event, I'm going to do it in another event. And so there's a level of trust that I built with them there. I never say that's not my job. Even if it's an issue with catering, if catering needed blackberries, I would be on my phone getting it for them. So I don't know how to bottle that. That's just me. If you came into a bar I was working at 1:55 in the morning and I'd already cleaned the espresso martini or the espresso machine and you wanted an espresso martini, I would literally make you an espresso martini. So that's just me, but I think that's what kind of solidifies our relationships. And again, goes back to our, kind of mission or motto where it's like, if you do well at one event, more will follow.
No, I think that's great because I see that a lot and it really frustrates me as a consumer. When you go somewhere and they put all these restrictions and boundaries around things, I get it. You need to have some restrictions and boundaries, but if you're in the service business, you're there to serve people, right? I mean, that's the whole point. And so serve people, right? Like be there. Oh, you need something at the last minute? Yeah, no problem, right? Oh, you want to break that check up? Yeah, sure, no problem, right? Like you do what you need to do to make sure that people are having a good experience, right? Yeah. And if they have the good experience with you, guess what? I always go back to the places that I always have a good experience because they will do whatever it is you want that you need, right? To eat or to whatever, right? Like, but anybody that you go to and you have that experience, like you go to a restaurant and they go, sorry, we don't break checks up. You guys have to figure it out, right? Like, okay, dude, why? I mean, why? How often do you go back to those places, right? Yeah. Or they have this huge list of stuff on the menu says, no substitutions, no blah, 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 no, like all these rules.
I actually just read a BuzzFeed article the other day from chefs that said if it says no substitutions, do not eat there again because it's just line cooks and it's not really like that great of a team back there. So there you
Yeah,
go.
that's right. That's
There you go.
perfect. Yeah, that's
But
perfect.
yeah, it's sad that saying just having good customer service, talking to a human, doing what you said you were going to do, meeting expectations, sometimes exceeding expectations, like that's it. That's the name of the game. And you're
Yeah,
right. You said it perfectly. We are in hospitality.
that's right.
So
Do
yeah.
you guys spend a lot of do you spend any resources on SEO? I know you talked about like making sure your website is up to date and that sort of thing. Do you guys spend resources on that for leads?
Yeah, well, we haven't had somebody come through and do like a true audit of it, but we built our website on WordPress, and there are a ton of tools that you can kind of add on the back
Yeah.
end that tell me like where I need to be putting stuff. So it's kind of like my little robot on the back end that tells me. The we really haven't done a ton with keywords. Where we've done best is with organic search. So when I was building the website, what I did was, look at competitors, think about what I wanted to say. And I had a Google Doc, like a Google sheet that was filled with like 100 words. And I used those words over and over and over
Good.
again on our website in our copy.
Nice.
So the SEO is great. We're on the first page. If you're looking for Airstream Mobile Bar Rent Los Angeles, like we are up there. I haven't done a search recently of just like beverage catering or like craft cocktails.
Yeah, those are
Yeah,
very difficult keywords to penetrate,
right,
right? Like you almost have to pay to be in there, but good for you for
right.
not having to really spend any money on leads and advertising for the most part. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, to get to that space is where you really want to get because you
yeah,
know, it number one, you're in business to make a profit. And if you have to
yeah.
spend, half of your profits on advertising, then it's not worth it, right?
Well, I feel like we're a little different. So I do get calls all the time with people asking me to advertise and do different things.
Of course.
And we're really a luxury item. Anybody can make you a Jack and Coke. And if you just want a Jack and Coke, then there are plenty of people in the Los Angeles
Yeah.
area that can do that for you. We are putting like scent bubbles on top of your cocktails, or we're doing frozen cocktails or branded items. Like we really truly are trying to differentiate ourselves in the market, and that comes at luxury prices. So like there was a while that we were on Yelp, and I ultimately had to kind of like turn it off because that's not necessarily where our clientele was,
Yeah.
right? We were a little too high for them. And what happens as soon as somebody gets engaged is they get super excited. They go start looking for everybody. They're sending out for all of these quotes, even though they don't necessarily know where they're going to be. Sorry. They don't know what their menu is. They don't know all of these things, right? So those were the kinds of leads that were coming in. And we keep a small administrative team. So for us, more leads isn't the best thing. We want qualified leads.
That's right.
And that's why I actually we have an instant estimate system on our website. So if you want to see what our prices are, they are not hidden. They are on there, and they're on there because they're fair. So this is what we know it's going to cost to give you what we think is good service.
Yeah, I think
right.
I totally think more people should do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Let's just shift a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about your sales process. And how that works for you guys. So you get the leads in. What does the sales process look like for you? Like I know you have the instant estimator online. Do most people go through that? Is that where you ask them to go there?
It's not as many people as you would think. I'm kind of like putting it out there, and I was like, everyone's going to use this. This is so awesome. And then not as many people as you think would use it. And I get the traditional email, or they'll come in through just like some other channel, like, oh, I'm really interested in this. So I would love if they all came in that way. But essentially what happens is if we do get some sort of notification from whether it's our website or it's Facebook or Instagram, whatever, all of that comes into our booking system. And then from there, we go into an automated workflow process.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the best thing is to get on the phone with you, even if it's 15 minutes. So I always send an initial like, hey, how you doing? So glad you reached out. Would love to do something in Malibu. The Airstream would look great there, blah, blah, blah. Here is a link to my calendar. So we treat each event in a custom way. I'm not a huge package person just because I think every event is completely different. And does that drive my team nuts? Yes, absolutely. Could I automate this and take more if I had packages? Probably. But each event is so completely different. So we talk on the phone. That's my opportunity to upsell them like a good bartender. Do you want to have frozen drinks? Do you want to have, scent bubbles on your drinks? Do you want to have a cocktail topper with your face on it? Whatever it is there.
Yeah.
But it also allows me to truly understand what their event is, because there is always something like in an event form that some detail that somebody doesn't share that's going to just take the price and ratchet it up. Right. So I like to know those things ahead of time. I like to give you an accurate quote. I don't like to come back after the fact and say to you, oh, it's going to be $5,000 more. Right. So getting on the phone really is the best thing. I try and keep my calls really concise, about 15 minutes. Quite honestly, nobody has the time and nobody likes talking on the phone. Right. And then the remainder is just following up via email and making sure that we stay in touch, which some of that is automated, some of that I do myself, but just making sure that I kind of keep in touch with that lead.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think, all weddings are custom, all events are custom, right?
Right.
There are certain things you could sell as packages and whatnot, and I think it has some benefit when for certain things, right? For some things, you just can't do it. You have to be a little more accurate about it. I think, unfortunately, I think beverage and food are kind of one of those things that you have to spend a little more time having a conversation about what it is you really want, and then kind of being able to figure out, okay, well, great, then this is what we can offer you, and this is how much it's going to be. Because even if you give them a quote online and they went through, they may not know everything that might be available to them.
Right.
But you can give them a sense of like, okay, look, if you're going to have 150 guests and you want these types of things, you're roughly going to spend here, but let's have a conversation so that we can make sure that you guys get everything that you want and so forth, right? So
again, it kind of goes back to just managing expectations and always trying to exceed expectations. I don't like to come back after the fact and tell you that it's going to be more. It's just, I want to be upfront with my pricing. And I'm, if you get me on the phone, I'm a regular person. You can hear how passionate I am. I want to do good things for you. I want to make awesome drinks for you, right? It really becomes an easy sale for me. And they're talking to the owner of the company. There's access. So there's a lot that goes into just getting that person on the phone. But there may be times that I have to kind of kick that can down the road because somebody's reached out a little too early. We don't have the information we need, etc.
Yeah, true. I get it. Totally get it. Last question for you, Darci. If you had to go back 3 to 5 years, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, well, everybody's probably responding. I'd probably warn myself about the pandemic. But no, I think I would say, if you build it, they will come, right? The whole idea for the Airstream bar and the way that we do business and the types of cocktails we created was based off what I would want to see. And some of it we did use at my own wedding. We had frozen cocktails at my wedding, which was in 2017, and fancy ones. We had a frosé. This is before frosé was even kind of a thing. And I wanted an Airstream. And so we had an Airstream at our wedding. And I don't know, I just knew that if I was looking for it, somebody else was looking for it. So I think a lot of times when you're an entrepreneur in a small business, there are a lot of highs and lows that come with that game. It's kind of its own drug, right? It's this roller coaster of adrenaline. And I would just say, just get up and do it. And there will be movement. Because there are certainly days where I have felt the losses, or there's been a little bit of a dry spell, or there's been a giant pandemic where you are questioning what you're doing and whether or not to shut down, whether to switch gears, whether to open up a new side of it, So there's a lot of that. And I guess I would just try and push myself forward and remind myself why I'm in this, which is because I love a great party. Right. I love a great party. So keep going.
And a lot of people do love a great party. I mean, they do. And so you're solving a huge problem that people want.
I'm bringing joy with every beverage.
There you go. Darci, thanks so much for being on the show. Really appreciate your time.
Yes, absolutely, Shane. Keep doing what you're doing because it helps all of us out there. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.